Surviving Veterinary Medicine. Be smart, be bold, be creative, and be your own boss. At the very least, find a practice where you can do what you do in the most positive way that gives you the space to practice medicine as you see fit. Because at SVM, we set a higher standard for medicine than what you learned in school. I'm your host, Dr. Narda Robinson, veterinarian, osteopathic physician, and leader of the Vet Med Revolution, calling for safer, gentler, and more effective medicine for animals and their people. Hi, everybody. Thanks for being here today to Surviving Veterinary Medicine. I'm so happy to have a friend and colleague here, Dr. Nancy Bureau, and she's going to discuss her bond-centered practice, bond-centered care in Niwot, Colorado. So thanks for being here, Nancy.
You bet. I'm happy and honored to be here. So hello, I am Nancy Bureau. I am a veterinarian and co-owner at Left Hand Animal Hospital in beautiful downtown Niwot, Colorado. I say it that way. Niwot is a very cute town. It personifies Americana, and it has all of 2,000 amazing people in it. Mm-hmm. My business partner and I, we have a practice there. There's 6 doctors and a team of 25 of us total that are there. And we have a bond-centered practice. And that's why we are able to be a practice of this size in an amazing town of 2,000 people. Most of our pet parents come from outside the community and come to visit us because of who we are and what we do.
I didn't know that. And I didn't know how big you've grown, because I know every time you come teach for us at the Medical Acupuncture for Veterinarians course, you're looking to add people. I mean, like several of our other docs, but boy, you are just growing.
Yes. Acupuncture, honestly, is a huge piece of our practice. It helps drive our practice, and it helps drive our practice in lots and lots of ways. And one of those ways is through bonding our pet parents to us and to our nursing team, and honestly to our reception team. So we integrate acupuncture into virtually everything we do, whether it's seeing someone for mobility problems and challenges, internal medicine cases, wellness cases. A lot of our pet parents really appreciate our whole body, whole being bonded approach to their family members, their furry family members. Mm-hmm. And so even wellness exams, we talk to pet parents about, hey, here's the subtle differences we're seeing from the last time we saw your best friend. And here's the things we can do to help make sure that you and your best friend have years and years of healthy time together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even saying best friend, I mean, that makes me start to tear up. And not to interrupt your momentum, but I think that the whole best friend concept is so important now. I mean, with 2020 being all the pandemic, and then we have, societal upheaval and everything. And, even though there's, I think, pressures from all around, that it's when you come back home and you have this one being who's a constant that you're so bonded with, hopefully you're bonded with, but one is bonded with them, but it just puts that whole lifeline for some people front and center. So it's like you're right where it's a societal aid for you to strengthen and protect that bond, I think.
Absolutely. I think the pandemic in particular has brought forth a whole lot of things that we didn't expect. And one of those things is how important our furry family members are to us. They let us do a whole bunch of things. They get us outside. They get us to meet our neighbors. Because right now, a lot of us, the only social interactions we're having are with our own family or with the people right next door to us. And though we're all being socially distant, you can still wave hi to your neighbor and say, how's Fluffy and how's Bob and stuff like that. And then you're exactly right. A lot of us, especially during pandemic times, are super, super, super stressed. And there's a whole bunch of wonderful, wonderful studies that talk about how much animals help us as humans decrease our cortisol levels, our stress ratios, and help us rebalance and refocus as to what's important in this world.
Yeah. So how does that play out as a bond-centered practice?
Yeah. So for us, acupuncture helps us a lot as part of our bond-centered practice. Honestly, it's clients are happy to talk and share with us, which is good for them, right? It's good for them to have an outlet to be able to say, here's what's going on in my home. Here's what's going on with my pet. And so that helps them and helps us understand what's going on with their pet at home, so that we can do a better job as a veterinary team. And honestly, most of the animals really love coming in, and that's part of bond-centered practice. It's not just the bond with the pet parents, it's the bond with the animals. And the pet parents see that. They see that their animals are happy to come into our practice, and they therefore bring their animals in a little more often. They make sure that their animals get the care they think they need and want, which is great. And it's great all around for my team also, because my team builds bonds with those animals and with those families, those human families. Yeah.
Right. And I bet they build bonds with each other more in that context of, of an open-hearted or whatever it is, that it's so different than one of these big box places, I would think.
Yeah, it's really nice because you're right. The team I work with, they develop these great bonds with each other as team members, and they develop these wonderful bonds with the pet parents and with the pets. And it works out really well because it's a win-win-win all around. I'm all about win-win-win situations, but it works out as, hey, the pets get great care. The pet parents feel like they're understood and listened to. The team does what they do best and what they want to do. We all come into veterinary medicine because we want to help the animals. And so the team gets to do that as part of bond-centered practice, and bond-centered practice encourages the team to do that. Mm-hmm. And then at the end of the day, my team goes home and they're like, hey, I had a really good day. And that's a good thing for lots of reasons. It improves how they feel about their jobs. It bonds them to us as a practice. So it's great because it keeps the team bonded to us and helps with not having as much turnover in veterinary medicine. Veterinary medicine's fraught with high turnover. And it really does help them to help help with their compassion fatigue, because they know they're actually there to help the animals. So it helps decrease their compassion fatigue. It helps prevent burnout because they know that bond is there. Yeah.
Yeah. So about how long are your appointments typically?
Our average appointment time, honestly, is about 40 minutes. And I recognize that for some practices, that's just not a model that works. And you can still build bonds with smaller appointment times. We enjoy and appreciate the longer appointment times. I say we, my whole team does. The doctors really appreciate it because it allows them to talk with the pet parents, ask other questions about how's the rest of the family, how's things going between, if we're seeing one dog and we know they also have cats in the family, how's the dog getting along with the cats and vice versa, so that way the pet parents know we're here to listen to them and help them. And those longer appointments help decrease our stress overall as a team, because instead of it being hit the ground, go running as fast as you possibly can until the end of the day, it provides a little bit of a buffer time, a little bit more time. And those longer appointments help us to build those bonds with those pet parents. Instead of overwhelmingly pet parents will tell us, you know what, thank you. I really feel like I got a lot of information out of this visit and I really felt like I was listened to.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it must be just night and day. And I'm so glad that people can find you and that you're there.
Yeah.
Were you like, how did things go? Like, how did you arrive where you are from the time of vet school or before? And did you anticipate that this would be where you would arrive to? Or like, what was your evolution to this place?
I say I'm blessed as a veterinarian, but honestly, I actively worked for this. So I set out from vet school to find a practice. All of you vet students, go find the practice that's a good fit for you. Don't just take the first job. So that's a whole other topic. But I actively sought out a practice that would allow bond-centered practice, and then we evolved from there. I've been a veterinarian for a very long time. It's got to be over 20 years now, and I was blessed enough to find a veterinary hospital and mentorship that encouraged, hey, look, you want to be able to have that bond, because that bond actually turns into, again, a win-win-win situation. It ends up as best care for the animal, great care for the pet parent, and it allows the veterinary team to do what they do best. And as an extra win, it ends up creating a lot of revenue. Those pet parents end up bonding to you, not just for the pet you're seeing then, there, that moment, but also for all the other pets they might have in their household, and also for the next generation of pets that they're going to have. And it works out great because they go and they talk to their family and their friends and other people and talk about, hey, look, I love my veterinarian. Oh my gosh, who can say they love somebody that's like a professional in their lives? Right. Just yesterday, I was talking to a pet parent, and she said we were just chatting while I was doing acupuncture on her dog, and and in coronavirus times, we do all this by curbside. So I say I was chatting, but I was talking by phone with her while her dog and I were in a different room. And she was saying she was just at her banker's office the day before, and her banker had asked, what do you do for a living? And she explained what she did for a living, and she said, hey, her dogs are really important to her, and that she and the banker got into a conversation about dogs. And then as part of that conversation, she started talking about, my dogs love going to my vet, and the banker said, what do you mean your dogs love going to the vet? She got into this great conversation about, actually my pets love going, and they can't wait to get there. And because they can't wait to get there, we go every time they need something. We don't always just wait things out. And so she made sure to give that banker my business email and my business phone number, and maybe we'll end up seeing that person. Many times I meet pet parents that do that. And really a lot of us, when we meet someone we don't know very well, our banker, the person that's checking us out at the grocery store, stuff like that, we talk about kids and pets, right? Yeah. Think of all the opportunities that each of our clients have when they're talking about their pets with somebody else. And if they can also say, hey, I love my veterinarian, my pets love my veterinarian, that's a great practice builder.
Right. And when you said just to prevent burnout and compassion fatigue, I mean, there have been studies on physicians anyways, that when a physician is stressed or depressed, that they don't practice medicine as well. And so,
absolutely.
Yeah. So it's not only like the experiential thing of being at a place that is bond centered, but also, without that stress and with that joy of what you're doing, that you're offering better medicine, better diagnosis, more expanded treatment options, and not just beating some corporate master that says you have to refer for surgery as much as you can and run up the bills and everything like that.
Honestly, for us as part of bond-centered practice, it sounds odd, but we regularly tell pet parents, I don't care where they go for care or help. My job is to provide care and help. And if it's not with us, then that's okay. And if we can help them get to the resources that they need and want, then just tell us what they need and want, and we'll find them that resource.
Right.
It's one extra step on my team's end, but again, it helps them do the thing that they do best. It helps them to be able to provide care. It also helps, again, decrease their compassion fatigue, because they know it's not just about, you got to make the dollar, you got to make the dollar. It's about
Right.
providing care. And from a business perspective, it makes sense. Those pet parents, when we say, hey, you know what, you can get this medication cheaper at Walgreens than you can get it from us, or something like that. Those pet parents say, whoa, you're not here to make a buck, you're here to help. And that helps, because then later, when I say, your pet needs some blood works, or your pet needs an ultrasound, or something like that, they're more likely to do it, because it's obvious that we're not there to make a buck. So it sounds odd, but from a business perspective, part of our bond-centered practice is, hey, do what's best for that pet parent and for that pet. And that ends up actually earning cash in the long run, even if initially the cash is not with us.
Right. And I mean, where I go in town too, just locally, it's like I would rather purchase, if there was a need for antibiotics or something like that, I would rather buy it in the place where I feel good. And it's like, I want to support this establishment.
We have a lot of pet parents that do that even though we tell them, hey, look, this medication is cheaper here, cheaper there, stuff like that. Or, hey, we're happy to spay your adorable 6-month-old fabulous golden retriever. And the Humane Societies locally for us do a good job and are much more cost efficient. A lot of our pet parents say no, they want their animal friend with us, because their animal friend likes us, loves us, they trust us, and the pet parent trusts us, and they'll say, you know what, I'd rather have you do these services or provide these medications or provide these supplements, because of that trust that they have with us.
Right. Well, and I would think that transforms into a physiological thing if the animal feels better, and then whatever resonance there is with the person as well. But just that psychological factor whenever you go into a place, I mean, their ability to heal
Absolutely.
will be better when they're feeling safer.
Absolutely. Honestly, if from a medical perspective, any of us that if your cortisol levels are lower, your tissues are better able to heal. And so that's a great thing. And if the pet parents' cortisol levels are lower, then those pets are less stressed. So it's about the pet parents and about the pet. That same pet parent that I was chatting with yesterday was talking about that. She was saying she's not stressed about bringing her pets to the vet, and that helps a ton for her. And she knows that it helps for her pets, that she remembers quite vividly that she used to be stressed when she would take her pets to the vet. And she said it was, a totally different experience. Her dogs would be whining and nervous and anxious in the car. And now her dogs, they're still whining, but it's because they're happy. And they're saying, why can't we get there? Can't you drive faster? Let's go. Which is such a different experience for her and for her dogs. And she's ecstatic about that.
Right. Yeah. So, another difference between you and maybe other places is that you have integrated medicine there too.
Absolutely. We use, bless you. We use integrated medicine as part of that whole idea to keep that bond going. Integrative medicine helps a whole lot, because that way we can talk to pet parents about multiple different options, and pet parents don't feel like we're pushing anything. They feel like they're part of the decision-making process and that they can say, that's not my belief system. And we'll say, great, how about this other option? Whether they're people who prefer Western medicine and we say, hey, do you want to think about acupuncture, supplements, herbs, stuff like that? And they say, I'm a Western medicine person. And we'll say, fine, let's chat that way. Or whether they're people that are would rather not use Western medicine, and then we can have an open discussion with them about choices.
You too can earn a certification in veterinary medical acupuncture without having to leave your practice or set foot on a plane. Sign up for our distance learning program called eMath, modeled after the course we've been teaching for decades, Medical Acupuncture for Veterinarians. Visit our website, curacore.org/vet. Sign up today and begin learning on the next business day.
I'm curious what you do, like in the following six. Well, I want to also just get back to the inviting people to go elsewhere if they need their drugs elsewhere. But I remember there's been a couple times during my veterinary practice as well as my human, but I remember more vividly with the veterinary thing where I just was not getting along with the client. And that's when I kind of fired them and invited them to go elsewhere. Now, I don't know if that happens with you, but it does go into this next thing I was thinking, where one of these people was so just devoted to just really nonsensical, irrational, holistic stuff because and you might face it more in the environment that you are than I want. Boulder Connection, not that there's anything wrong with that. And I've practiced in Boulder and everything, and I loved it. But I mean, she came in with her hair analysis sheets, which supposedly diagnosed the animal based on hair cuttings about all kinds of things, just all kinds of things. And I said, there's been a place where I'll go up to here if you want to talk to me about Reiki and blah, blah, blah. And I won't challenge you. But and then she was just so angry. So wondering if you see that.
So I tell a hilarious story so I tell a hilarious story. It's just, it is true for me, but it is a story. Yeah. So there's like no facts in it. It's truly just a story. But I remember absolutely when I was a much younger me, a long time ago, I was a veterinary technician, and I got a job with a veterinarian who did a whole lot of acupuncture. This was a long time ago. And I remember kind of being like, I don't know, acupuncture.
Yeah.
How does that work? And I remember in my absolutely thinking, I totally get it. I get why people would answer to acupuncture. You go see your people acupuncturist, you lay down on some warm, lovely, cushy, fabulous table. Someone plays some lovely music, or there's a water fountain that's trickling in the background, making beautiful sounds. They put some needles in you, and then they walk away, and you get a nice nap for an hour. Right. Who doesn't feel better after that, right? Who doesn't? That's great. And then I remember seeing acupuncture in the animals, and I was astounded because those animals, they should not know that. And it's not the same experience for them. In our animal friends, typically there might be nice music, maybe there's not. Maybe the practice I worked in that I initially saw acupuncture, it was a busy practice. There was a lot of noise, a lot of animals coming in or out. In the background, the nursing team would be playing like rock music, stuff like that, stuff that's not really animal-tastic necessarily. I'm sure there are some animals that really love rock, and still those animals would get better. And what really shook me was I remember this really vivid case for me of a dog that had a GI foreign body, and the pet parents were thinking about euthanizing rather than going to surgery. And they were like, look, she's already 10 years old. She really has a hard time with the stairs. She really can't get in and out of the car without assistance. And she just swallowed this tennis ball, and you're telling me it's going to be X number of dollars to go ahead and go to surgery. And as part of what that doctor did during surgery was to do acupuncture. So that dog was anesthetized. That dog did not know that acupuncture was performed. That dog woke up. And remember, this was a long time ago when pain relief was not a very good, it wasn't done very well. We've all learned a lot in veterinary medicine. And that dog woke up from its gastrotomy and was leaping around its kennel. And we had to call the pet parent and say, your dog feels really good. You got to come get him. She's not staying overnight. She's going home now. And that pet parent took that dog home and said, she feels really good. She's racing up and down the stairs. And we're like, don't let her race up and down the stairs. She's healing from a surgery. But she felt really good.
Yeah. Sorry.
And no worries. And that dog, she was told, hey, look, you need to come back in probably 5 days or so for your next acupuncture appointment. The dog felt great. We took out the stitches, and I remember 3 weeks later, them calling and saying, she can't climb the stairs. She can't get in the car again. It's because they didn't come back for acupuncture.
Yeah.
And then they came back and let us acupuncture that dog again, and she felt amazing again. And so it was hugely vivid to me to see that. So when I have pet parents, and the rest of my team is counseled not to judge pet parents as part of bond-centered practice. We don't know everything about everybody. And so when I think of different modalities, so long as it's not harmful for the animal, if it's not going to hurt someone, or it's not going to replace other adjunctive care that could be done, we tell the team, look, there's so many things in the universe that I do not know. And there's so many things in this universe that I can't explain, just like the younger me could not explain acupuncture. I can now because I have all of that education and knowledge. But oh gosh, I couldn't then. And maybe there's other things in this universe that we all will learn more about as time goes by. So we tend to try to counsel with pet parents. And if there's a pet parent that we're like, we don't know about that, we'll talk about, hey, we're here to support you. We're here to partner with you as part of bonding. We're here to partner with you. We're here to make a team. So whatever the animal's name is, if the dog's name is Fluffy or the cat's name is Fluffy, we'll say, hey, we're part of Team Fluffy now. Right. So what's going to be best for Team Fluffy? What can we do to support Fluffy as part of Team Fluffy? Right. And maybe it's some things that we don't understand. Maybe it's a bunch of things we do understand, and we can pick and choose from multiple modalities to come up with the best plan for Fluffy.
Yeah. So that sounds very good and workable. I guess one thing where that might get tripped up could be, well, I've been to the animal communicator and Fluffy says she doesn't want her anti-epileptic meds anymore, which I can understand, I guess. But so when the spirit guides talk to the psychic, and the animal spirit guide supposedly talk to the psychic, and they come up with a different recommendation, I guess that could be challenging. I mean, it can be navigated. You could set up a conference call, I guess, with all the spirit guides.
For us, as part of bond-centered practice, because we have that gift of time, when a pet parent says something like that to our team, we usually ask a couple questions. We ask, what did the animal communicator actually say?
Oh.
And if they can tell us that, then we can say, look, are we sure that Fluffy's saying she doesn't want her anti-anxiety meds? Or is Fluffy saying she doesn't like the way she feels with her anti-anxiety meds? Yeah. I can work with that. Or is it that Fluffy says she doesn't like all the doctor visits that are involved in her anti-epileptic medicines? Okay, I can work with that. What did they actually say? And then I'll tell the pet parent, why don't we try this, whatever the this is? Do you mind going back and talking with your animal communicator again, and saying, could this be an interpretation of what your pet was saying?
That's fantastic.
Usually that works out pretty well. I've had a few pet parents that say, nope, that's not it. This is what my pet said. And I'll say, okay. And usually those pet parents, because I phrased it differently, they usually just won't come back. I'm not trying to be mean, but they'll fire themselves because they wanted someone to either fight with them or they wanted someone to absolutely agree with them. And if instead we say, hey, let's go back and let's just chat this out. Just go could you clarify this with your beloved pet? And then they'll think it'll open a door for them.
That's great. So how did you learn, like, where do you go to learn about becoming a bond-centered practitioner?
You don't. You become one. So you decide. I encourage other veterinarians, just pick one or two things that would allow bond-centered practice. Acupuncture absolutely is one of those. My doctor team, the doctors that do acupuncture, talk about they love being able to do acupuncture as part of bond-centered practicing. That it literally acupuncture kind of drives you towards a bond-centered practice, because you have a little bit of extra time. You're hanging out with that animal, you're hanging out with that pet parent. You can talk about the weather, that's great, or you can talk about whatever else you want to talk about, and you're probably going to talk about pets and kids, because that's that. And
you can't talk about politics and religion.
I don't, but you can. Some of our doctor team actually does, and that's okay. You can do that. And especially as you build that bond with those pet parents, honestly, a fair number of our doctors actually are friends with their clients, and interact with them socially outside the practice, which is wonderful. And so it ends up working well to have acupuncture as part of bond-centered practice. So you could do that. If you're an acupuncture certified veterinarian, just embrace that extra bit of time that you have with each of your acupuncture appointments and utilize it. Ask, how's the rest of the family? Great question. And pet parents will be shocked that you're asking, and they'll answer you something. Maybe they'll answer fine. And that's okay. Or maybe they'll tell you something. And, the conversations I have with pet parents about how their kids are doing in school, or the ups and downs of their personal jobs or their own families or the other pets in the family. If you don't want to talk about how's the rest of the family, you could talk about how's the rest of the pet family. Those things can help with being a bond-centered practice. Other things are, we empower our reception team and our nursing team to ask some of those questions. How's the rest of the family? Hey, what did you guys do for fun today? Hey, what do you guys do for fun when you have time together? You and Fluffy the dog, or you and Fluffy the cat. What do you do for fun? What's the favorite game for Fluffy the cat? It doesn't have to be that you ask about the humans necessarily. You can ask questions about the animals, and you can ask what seem like non-veterinary questions, like, hey, what's their favorite game to play, or something like that. But that does help me as a veterinarian a whole lot, because as a veterinarian, if I know that, hey, Fluffy walks 6 miles a day, or Fluffy used to walk 6 miles a day, but now they're down to 1 mile a day, then that helps me ask questions. Is it because Fluffy's painful? Is it because Fluffy's being overfed and is getting obese? then I want to have a conversation about that. Or is it because something's happening at home, the pet parent's job changed and now they need to allot time differently? And a lot of pet parents then have thoughts and emotions and guilt about things like that. And we can come up with, hey, I totally get it. You used to work a 10-hour day and now you work a 16-hour day, and you still want to spend valuable time with Fluffy. Why don't we come up with a couple of things that you and Fluffy can do that are 1 minute or 3 minute games, or 1 minute or 3 minute fun-filled things you can do together. And that helps a lot, because then the pet parent says, oh my gosh, you're in it not just for the cash, you're in it to help me and help Fluffy have a great life, that we're invested in their bond with each other.
Right. And your life, it sounds like from the get-go, you have been in a really healthy practice environment. So it's not like you had to escape corporate or a
I did not. I elected to join a private practice, and grew with that practice for quite a long time. And then my business partner and I started Left Hand Animal Hospital a few years ago, and we started as a 2-doctor, 1.5 team members. I know you can't really have a half a team member, that's
right.
And now we are who we are. And it's been a journey. It's been a lot of learning. And we've made sure to keep bond-centered practice stable through all of that, because it gives us a place for all of us as veterinary professionals, the reception team, the nursing team, the doctor teams. It helps all of us come back to that center point. Why are we here? We're here to help the animals.
Right.
Yeah.
And didn't you just expand? Right.
We did. We were leasing a place for the first 5 years of practice, and our practice grew, and we were able to purchase a building in that same adorable teeny tiny town and convert that building into a veterinary practice for us. And truly, as part of bond-centered practice, we actively, as part of converting that building, we did a bunch of things. We actively reached out to the neighbors and said, hey, we'd like to be part of your community. Would that be okay? The neighbors at first were kind of shocked and surprised, and it really helped, because that way the neighbors literally were on our side as we did construction. Truly, as we did construction, we abided by what the neighbors wanted. The neighbors wanted us to start work at a certain time of day and end work by a certain time of day. We absolutely did that, which sounds again like it was not a good choice, but it worked out really, really, really well, because that way, again, the neighbors were very happy to have us move into their neighborhood. And we, as part of converting that building, we actively worked with an animal architecture team. Animal Arts is their name, and made sure we explained to them our practice philosophy and that we were a bond-centered practice. And the first design they handed us was like, "Hey, this place is going to look like a house. It's not going to look like an animal hospital."
Mm-hmm.
So when you come up to Left Hand Animal Hospital, it looks like you're walking into someone's home. That also does help the animals a whole lot, because their first experience is not, ooh, this looks like a commercial building. It looks like a house. And so a lot of the pets are more willing to come in. As part of bond-centered practice, we hired a landscaper who, again, would have the landscaping be environmentally friendly, so water conserving, and would be pet friendly, so no stabby things. There's no rose bushes on the property, for instance, because you can't have that, and there's no grasses that have seed pods to them, because those can become foxtail. Here in Colorado, we talk about a thing called foxtail grass that the animals get stuck between their toes or in their ears and stuff like that. And it helps as an educational programming so that pet parents, as they're waiting for their animals, they can walk around the property, check out the plants. Some of the plants have signs on them saying it's this kind of thing or that kind of thing. So they can then go home and say, hey, we want to build our own yard to be environmentally friendly and pet friendly. And in a weird way, that does increase their bond with us also, because they know we're there to help them with their pets and give them ideas of what they can do with their own yards, stuff like that. Yeah.
That's so good. I mean, it's just, I hear, I think it was Gandhi that said, be the change you want to see in the world, or somebody, you hear that. And,
right.
And just, your level of compassion and concern for others, is so precious. I mean, and ideally contagious to others, because it just puts you in a different frame of mind and is, I think, just positive. It feeds back positively in your own, because it feels good to be in that space.
Yeah. The pet parents, when they come to Left Hand Animal Hospital, they say that regularly. Just, it literally feels different when they walk in the door. The reception team always greets them with a smile. A lot of times they know, because it's a bond-centered practice, a lot of times they know those pet parents' names, or they know the animal's name. So they're not saying, oh, you're here for an appointment. Who are you, and who are you here to see? Instead, it's, Mrs. Jones, you're here, and, Fluffy's here, and this is great. And, we haven't seen you in a couple months, and how are things going? And things like that. Even in coronavirus times, my reception team does say that this is different. They say the big thing they actually miss is that one-on-one interaction with the pet parents. Because a lot of things now are done through either email, phone, Zoom, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, I can just even visualize that reception area and how the animals are more relaxed. And I think that itself lends to doing a better job with diagnosing, because they're not all rigid. And when you get to your palpation, you're palpating an animal that is not in a heightened state of anxiety, which changes so many physiologic factors and somatic pieces.
Yeah, the majority of our dogs love coming in. They usually are dragging their pet parents in, or dragging the nurse in right now during concierge service. And the dogs come running in. We teach the dogs, hey, you come running in, you jump on the scale, you get a snack, you go running into your exam room. There's dog beds there, there's toys, there's snacks. But that does absolutely change their physiology and lets us actually accurately diagnose what's happening in them. So instead of it being, I don't know, are you just worried and tense and that's why your belly is so tight? Or is it that you have abdominal pain? We can more clearly identify that. Never mind the animal who's lame. And when any of us are in a heightened anxiety state, we will be less lame than we were. So it helps us absolutely with our diagnosis for those animals to be more relaxed and for the pet parents to be more relaxed. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I'm wondering, just in these last, maybe 10 minutes or so, just some things like, so I know, so it sounds like it's very successful and very busy and growing, but you still have to take care of yourself and pace yourself. So I'm wondering, like, do you decide how many days you're going to work and not work? And then you have what kind of outside activities that you do. And I'm also curious if you perform euthanasia, because I know that would just disintegrate me. So it's not something I can do, but is that part of what, I would think that's part of what you offer?
Absolutely. Yeah. We're honored to be able to help some pets pass. Euthanasia can be sad, but that doesn't mean it has to be bad. Right. So we encourage the team, hey, whatever emotions they have about euthanasia, feel free to express those. It's not bad to cry in front of a client. Just know that some clients may not need or want that. And so we try to feel things like that out ahead of time. If the pet parent, because we're a bond-centered practice, if the pet parent wants a particular nurse there or doesn't want a particular nurse there, we try to abide by that. If we can't abide by that, then we tell the pet parent up front, here's what we can and cannot do. And euthanasia can be a gift, right? Veterinarians were taught that in vet school. It can be a gift. So we try to approach it as that.
Mm-hmm.
So absolutely, we do perform euthanasias. The hardest part, honestly, probably is making sure that the team doesn't get overworked, because we are a bond-centered practice. There's a lot of emotion that's involved. And instead of squashing that emotion down, we encourage the team, it's okay to express it. Just express it in healthy ways. It may not be appropriate to each of us expresses emotion in different ways. Some of us use language, some of us use body gestures, some of us might swear or kick or scream or whatever. And some of those things may not be appropriate in front of a pet parent. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. So we let the team know it's okay to do that. The team is absolutely allowed to refuse to participate in any activity that they don't feel is right, or that they don't feel up for. So our team members are allowed to say they don't want to participate in that animal's euthanasia or in euthanasia at all in a particular day because that's the day they're having, or they're also allowed to refuse, hey, they don't want to take part of chemotherapy or certain surgeries, things like that, if that's not in their belief system, and that's okay, or if it's just how they're feeling that day. And the hardest part really is making sure that the team takes care of themselves. So regularly we have compassion fatigue programming within our team. We make sure every staff meeting, so every month, we have a few minutes that we talk about that. Initially, those conversations were super hard to have. They were hard to have for all of us as management. They were hard for the team to have because they were like, should I really be expressing this to my boss or to my coworkers, things like that. But as the team gets more comfortable with it, it's a lot easier. And at all of the technician meetings, all of the CSR meetings, they have opportunity. There's a space, a time set aside saying, how's everybody feeling? And the hardest part is to make sure we take care of the team. We run our practice as part of bond-centered practicing. We run our practice based on our core values, and a couple of our core values are kindness and compassion. And part of that means being kind to each other. And we teach the team regularly, it's not kind to overbook ourselves. It's not kind. It's not providing best care for that animal. It's not providing best care for that pet parent. And it's certainly not providing best care for us, the caregivers. You need to take care of the caregivers. Otherwise, they burn out. So that is the hardest part, honestly.
So how many days, when you said you were treating somebody yesterday, it's like that was a Saturday.
Oh, yeah. I typically, that was a different circumstance. Typically, so that's honestly where my business partner and I fail, is we don't take good enough care of ourselves. We do actively work on that. So we honestly had a sit down session about what are we going to do to actively take care of ourselves. And so my business partner and I typically do work long weeks, long hours. We typically are there, depending on the week, 60 to 80 hours. We do try sometimes to do work from home instead of work at the practice. There's interesting concepts about this, that it doesn't have to be that you have a 40-hour work week, so long as you enjoy it. And so changing our mindsets, and then my business partner and I, we divided up what we each do well. And so not all of us have to be amazing at everything. And so that helps. And for instance, I do probably 10 to 15 hours of management stuff from home. The happiness piece to me there is that I'm at home. I'm surrounded by my own pets. I can have cooking shows on my TV while I work. So I can turn it into something positive. My business partner does some great things. She comes to work, but she takes time out I'm going to say it's 3 times a week. It might be 4 times a week, to go to a yoga class. She stops work and goes to yoga and then comes back, with the idea of, hey, it doesn't have to be a set schedule. Come up with what's going to make you happy and do that. Yeah.
Right. And so that, I think, brings us to some of the things that I've discussed earlier in this podcast series about being in charge of yourself and
Sure.
and deciding what you want, and you build your life around it rather than fitting into other people's or your antique concepts or what your parents wanted you to do.
Yeah.
And you knew that right away. It sounds like you knew it. Well, I mean, you chose. So if we were thinking about vet students and advice to them, it's like you came out saying, I thought I heard you say that you wanted to find or be in a bond-centered practice.
Mm-hmm.
How did you even know that?
I knew I was a veterinary technician for a very long time before I went to vet school. This probably tells you lots about my age, but which is okay. So I was a veterinary technician for a long time. I worked in multiple different practices, saw practices that I thought, hey, this is a good thing and this is a bad thing over there, and then was able to say, hey, when my business partner and I started our practice, we sat down together and said, what do we want this practice to look like? And the way to do that is to come up with your mission statement, to come up with your core values. And for my business partner and I, what we decided was, hey, we would sit down and have a discussion about what we wanted the mission statement for the practice to be like, what we wanted the core values for the practice to be like, and what were our personal mission statements, what were our personal core values, and how would that all mesh together or not. And so that helped to give us a clear path and continues to give us a clear path. So if I was talking to any veterinarian, but especially a younger veterinarian, come up with that. What are your core values? What's your mission statement? What do you want out of your professional career? And go with that. And see where it leads you. Remembering that you can change your mission statement. Mm-hmm. You can change your core values if you wish. And that's okay. That's part of learning and growing. And that's what all of us do as people.
That's really great. And so 2 things come to mind there. It is, that's part of why, like, I love for you to teach with us and just that we can reach out to the profession as well as to vet students, because I think that some of them haven't even known that this could exist. Like when I found out about acupuncture in medical school, but it wasn't until I had my human practice in Boulder on the Pearl Street Mall at Pearl and Broadway. Mm-hmm. Best thing.
Great location.
Best place it could be. And I still wasn't happy because I wanted to work with animals. And so that's when I just said, I have to try this. I have to try to get into vet school. But it was, before that, it was one of my human patients that says, I'm taking my dog for veterinary, for acupuncture. I mean, she was coming to see me for acupuncture, and I thought, what? Veterinary acupuncture? So I didn't even know that existed. And of course, I mean, so just to get that information out there to vet students, but also still having lived in Boulder, I mean, I don't know, I'm just impressed with how together you are, because I feel like that doesn't just happen to you, that those years I did spend in Boulder were healing and illuminating to me, because, I had been through everywhere else, but it allowed for a lot of introspection and growth, and you're among a community that it can cultivate those things. Mm-hmm. And you just, either you were born with it or you acquired it.
No, I actively learned it. I know that. Yeah. My base nature is I'm absolutely an introvert. Absolutely. I'm an introvert. And getting comfortable with who each of us are, and then actively learning what's going to keep you healthy, Just like we all can learn, oh, here's how I'm supposed to eat to be healthy, and here's how much exercise I'm supposed to get healthy. You can learn how to keep your professional self healthy. It's the same things we all know. It's or hopefully we know them, and if we don't, we need to learn them. And then actively use them. I'm not telling you I'm perfect about it all the time. I've already shared with you, I work many, many, many hours, too many hours, and it still can be okay. And then being more and more in business, people are talking about being vulnerable with your team. As part of that, it's supposed to help. And this is where you can tell I'm obviously learning things, because I'll say, like, it's supposed to help. It's supposed to help you. It's supposed to help the business entrepreneur or leader to not feel like they're isolated and alone, because a lot of veterinarians do feel like they're isolated and alone if you're vulnerable, and it helps your team learn to trust you and bond to you because they know you have vulnerability. I regularly tell my team, honestly, one of my de-stressors is I watch a whole lot of cartoons. It's absolutely what I do. And I go run a whole lot, and I exercise a whole lot, and I spend a whole lot of time hanging out with my dogs, my cats, and teach them hilarious things because it makes me laugh and it's funny.
Right. Cat training and all that. Yes.
And so doing a lot of the things that we all know are supposed to help us. Those are good things to do. Eat healthy, get exercise, spend time with the ones you love, come up with borders for yourself, not barriers, but borders for yourself. What's okay, what's not okay. And then embracing all of that.
Yeah. Well, just wrapping up, I've already known you forever, but also just talking like this one-on-one, I'm so impressed with your sense of self. And everything else. I know that it takes, ATP or something. It takes work to maintain your own nature against the pressures that decompose us a little bit. And I really love seeing that and hearing that from you, and that you're a beacon of that and an example of that for others.
Thanks. Yeah. It takes work, just like eating healthy or exercising does. And, we're all practicing it, right? None of us are perfect at it. We're here to practice. We're not here to be perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. Although I think you're perfect just the way you are.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. But yeah. And maybe too, because I think of what I do, it's like, well, I don't know how I would survive any other way, but being the master of my own existence. I wouldn't be able to work for others and do a 9 to 5 and be in an environment that I didn't feel comfortable. So there's also probably a piece that helps you survive, or that's how you have to do it, even though I don't know. Right. Yeah. Because you've had the experiences of what you don't want to do and are really sure about what you do want to do, I think.
Yeah. Yes. We counsel our team and people who are joining our team we call it a happiness package. Come up with what's going to make you happy at work. Tell me about it. I may not be able to provide all of it, but then I can have an honest conversation with you as to here's what I can provide and here's what I cannot provide. For a lot of folks, that's kind of like, it's phenomenal to them to think about that, because they're accustomed to people saying, here's what you're going to do, and flip that equation around. What do you want to do? And then find that space.
That is it. What do you want to do for anybody in this profession? Because we have so many opportunities, and you started as a smaller practice. You can start small. You can start with low overhead.
Very low.
Yeah. Right. Wow. Well, thank you for doing this.
Thanks for taking the time today.
Yeah. No, I love this. I feel better already.
Oh, good. That's good.
Yeah, it is. All right. Well, I'm sure that I'll be seeing you in some of our future meetings about
Yes.
teaching and
Yes.
all that. Okay. Well, thank you.
Okay. Have a happy day, everybody. Take care of you.
Yes. Thank you.
If you'd like to learn integrative medicine from a scientific perspective, visit us at curacor.org. Thanks for listening to another installment of Surviving Veterinary Medicine.